You ever have that moment where you stop and think, is this it? Like somehow you missed your chance, the door closed, the clock ran out, everyone else is ahead and you're just behind, and then comes the thought that haunts people more than anything, maybe it's too late for me. That lie, that toxic, heavy lice, stops more dreams than failure ever will. It convinces people to shrink their lives, settle, disappear quietly, not because they weren't capable, but because they believed they ran out of time. But let me tell you something right now, clear and direct. It is never too late, not to start, not to change, not to become. I don't care how old you are. I don't care how many times you've failed. I don't care what you were supposed to do 10 years ago. What matters is what you choose to do right now, because right now, you're not out of time. You're just out of excuses. This isn't going to be a speech about motivation that lasts 5 minutes and fades by tomorrow. This is about shifting something inside you. This is about reminding you who you actually are underneath all the doubt, the delay, the overthinking. This is about choosing courage over comfort. So I'm going to walk you through 5 truths. 5 core shifts, not inspiration, but activation, because the version of you who's still holding back. That's not the final version, not even close. Let's begin, and remember this as we go, you're not late. You're right on time. There's this invisible clock we all think we're supposed to be following. It starts ticking the moment we're born, and by the time we're 5, we're already feeling its pressure. You need to talk by this age, read by that one, get into the right school, choose the right career, find the right person, buy the right house. We're taught that there's this timeline that must be obeyed. And when life doesn't unfold on that schedule, we feel behind our peers, behind our potential, behind what we imagined for ourselves. But here's what nobody tells you. You're not behind, you're just starting. That feeling of being late, of missing the window, is a lie told by fear and comparison. The truth is, life is not a straight line, it's a spiral staircase. Every turn, every loop, every pause is part of the process. We're all arriving exactly when we're supposed to. Some people wake up to their purpose at 16. Others don't hear it clearly until 46. The timing doesn't matter. What matters is that you wake up at all. Let's talk about that voice in your head that says you've missed your shot, that you should have done it 10 years ago, that you're too old now, that it's embarrassing to start fresh. That's not your intuition talking. That's fear. That's the part of you that would rather stay where it's safe than risk being seen starting over. Because starting over is vulnerable. It exposes you. It feels like admitting failure. But starting over isn't failure. It's courage, it's clarity, it's action, and more importantly, it's freedom. Think about this. The moment you decide you're no longer bound by a timeline, you become free to follow your truth. You start choosing things not because you're trying to catch up, but because they actually matter to you. You stop playing the game of should and start playing the game of want. That's where power lives, and when you make decisions from that place, your timing becomes perfect. Not perfect in the sense of flawless. Perfect in the sense of aligned, right for you, right now. We're living in a culture obsessed with speed and milestones. People post their promotions, marriages, babies, houses, all on highlight reels. And you scroll through, feeling like you're standing still while everyone else is racing ahead. But what you don't see are the thousands of quiet starts. The people waking up at 4 a.m. to learn a new skill. The ones sending that first scary email, registering for the class, writing the first paragraph of their book at 50. You don't see that because starting doesn't look flashy, but starting is where everything begins. You can't compare your beginning to someone else's middle. The person you admire now, who seems so far ahead, they had a beginning too. They had doubts, false starts, awkward moments. You just didn't see it. You're seeing the edited version, but don't mistake polish for progress, and don't mistake your pause for a permanent stop. You are still in motion. The very fact that you're thinking about change, about trying, about becoming, that's movement. That's the first step. Even if you've taken 10 steps backward, even if life knocked you off course, even if your last attempt didn't work, none of that disqualifies you. It prepares you, it sharpens you. And when you finally start again, you don't start from scratch. You start from experience. You start with resilience. You start with a deeper understanding of who you are and what matters to you. That's not being behind. That's being ready. You don't owe the world a performance. You don't have to explain why you're choosing now to act. You just have to begin. The deadline you're afraid of, it's fake. The rules you think you broke, they're made up. Life doesn't punish you for being late. It invites you to participate when you're ready, when you're truly ready. And readiness doesn't always feel like confidence. Sometimes it feels like restlessness. Sometimes it feels like pain. Sometimes it feels like enough is enough. But that's still readiness. That's your signal. If today is the day you start, then today is the perfect day. You don't need anyone's permission to begin. You don't need to wait for a Monday, a birthday, a new year. You don't need to be the youngest, the smartest, the most polished person in the room. You just need to be willing. Willing to believe that maybe, just maybe, you're not behind. You're just at the beginning of something incredible. Regret has a way of grabbing you by the throat. It whispers in your ear late at night, plays scenes from your past on repeat, and leaves you wondering what could have been if you just said yes. Just walked away, just tried harder, just known better. Regret can feel like a heavy chain, like proof that you messed up and there's no coming back. But what if we've misunderstood regret all along? What if regret isn't punishment? What if it's direction? Regret shows up when something inside you recognizes that you've lived out of alignment with who you really are. That's not failure. That's awareness. It means the light is on. It means your values, your intuition, your desires, they're alive and well. You only feel regret when something matters to you. It's a signal that you've grown, that you know more now than you did then, that your standards have changed, that your soul is asking for more. So many people treat regret like a life sentence, as if one bad decision, one missed opportunity, one wrong turn defines their whole story. But regret is not the ending, it's the clue, it's the lesson. It's the breadcrumb trail that can lead you somewhere new, if you're willing to follow it instead of run from it. The pain of regret is only trying to get your attention. It's saying, look at this moment. Look at this pattern. Look at what you keep tolerating that you know you've outgrown. When you stop avoiding your regret and start listening to it, everything changes. Instead of shame, you feel clarity. Instead of paralysis, you feel urgency. Regret says, that wasn't who I want to be, but now I see it. That kind of awareness is powerful. It gives you a second chance not to erase the past, but to respond differently moving forward. That's what growth actually looks like, not perfection. Just the decision to stop repeating what hurt you. It's easy to romanticize a version of life where we make all the right choices, where we're always wise, always brave, always prepared. But that version of life doesn't exist. Every single person you admire has moments they'd take back, conversations they wish had gone differently, roads they wish they'd taken or skipped. Regret doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're human, and it's proof that you're learning. The trick is to not get stuck there. Regret can become a trap if you believe it defines you. If you believe you can never recover. If you keep rehearsing the mistake instead of rewriting the story. You have to use it. Let it teach you. Let it refine your values. Let it inform your choices. But don't let it build a prison around your future. Don't let it convince you that because you failed once, you'll always fail. That because you hurt someone, you don't deserve grace. That because you waited too long, it's too late now. That's not truth. That's fear pretending to be wisdom. Regret is also not always about action. Sometimes it's about inaction. The words you didn't say, the leap you didn't take, the silence you sat in when you should have spoken. And that kind of regret is painful because it feels like loss, like a window that closed. But if you look closer, you'll see that regret is showing you something important, what you actually care about, what really matters to you when all the noise falls away. And once you know that, You can prioritize it. You can choose it. You can move toward it with intention. It's never too late to make peace with your past. It's never too late to act on what regret has revealed to you. Whether it's rebuilding trust, starting again, apologizing, taking the risk, changing course. Whatever your regret is pointing to, that's the work. That's the invitation. You don't need to erase the past. You need to honor the wisdom it gave you and apply it now. You're not meant to carry regret like baggage. You're meant to use it like a compass. It's not there to haunt you. It's there to guide you. And the more you listen to it, not from a place of shame, but from a place of self-respect, the more you'll find that the very things you regret are the seeds of your reinvention. They hold the insight, the fire, the direction you've been looking for. We're trained to believe that change has to be dramatic, that it needs to be loud, bold, public, and fast. We celebrate big leaps, quitting the job, moving across the country, launching the company, losing 50 pounds. But here's the truth nobody wants to admit. Most transformation doesn't look like fireworks. It looks like one tiny, almost invisible step repeated over and over again. Small steps are the engine of big change. There's a reason why small steps are so powerful. They bypass the part of your brain that's terrified of change. When you tell yourself, I'm going to turn my whole life around by Monday, your mind panics. It sees the gap between where you are and where you want to be and shuts down. But when you say, I'm going to do one thing differently today, your brain can handle that. You're not asking for a reinvention. You're asking for an adjustment, and over time, those adjustments compound. You don't have to overhaul your life overnight. You just have to start nudging it in a different direction. And that direction starts with the smallest choices. The kind that seem almost too insignificant to matter. 5 minutes of movement, 1 page of reading, a 5-second pause before reacting, 1 text you've been putting off, 1 glass of water, 1 honest conversation. These tiny things don't look like progress, but they are. They build momentum, and momentum is what makes the impossible feel possible. The beauty of small steps is that they're sustainable. You can't stay in crisis mode forever. Burnout happens when you expect yourself to operate on adrenaline indefinitely. But when you learn to build consistency with small actions, you create a rhythm, and rhythm is stronger than motivation. Motivation comes and goes, but rhythm, once set, carries you. It becomes automatic. You don't have to think about brushing your teeth. You just do it. That's where you want to get with your habits. That's where freedom begins. One of the most dangerous myths is that real change has to hurt. That unless you're exhausted, you're not doing enough. That unless you suffer, it doesn't count. But what if ease is not laziness? What if it's wisdom? What if you don't need to break yourself to rebuild your life? Small steps allow you to grow without breaking. They let you stretch without snapping. They build your confidence by giving you wins. Tiny, manageable wins that stack up like bricks. Let's talk about those bricks. Imagine every small step you take as 1 brick. At first, you just see a few lying on the ground. You don't feel like you're making a dent. But one day, you look back and realize you've built a wall. A foundation, a structure strong enough to support your next level. That's what small steps do. They feel slow. They feel invisible until they don't, until they're suddenly everything. You don't need to know the whole plan. You don't need to have it all figured out. That's another trap. Waiting to begin until you feel fully ready. But you rarely feel ready at the start. Clarity doesn't always come before action. It often comes because of action. Take the step, make the move, let your understanding evolve as you go. You won't see the full staircase yet, but you don't need to. Just take the first step. We often underestimate what a year of small steps can do. A year of showing up when it's boring. A year of not giving up just because you're tired. A year of saying no to what drains you and yes to what matters. It doesn't feel heroic while it's happening, but the results? Life changing, and not just externally, but internally. You start to see yourself differently. You start to believe you're capable. And once that belief takes root, nothing can stop you. Every goal you've ever dreamed of starts with a single step. Not the glamorous part, the unsexy part, the early mornings, the quiet decisions, the choice to keep going. When you commit to small steps, you are saying, I'm not waiting for a perfect moment. I'm building my own. That mindset changes everything, because you're no longer depending on luck or motivation or external permission. You're depending on your own consistency, and that is something you can control. We spend so much of our lives performing, walking into rooms with our shoulders tense, editing our words second, guessing our choices, not because we're unsure of ourselves, but because we're convinced someone else is watching, judging, keeping score. That sense of being on display can paralyze you. It makes you afraid to fail, afraid to start, afraid to look awkward or uncertain or imperfect. But here's the truth that sets you free. Nobody is watching as closely as you think. It's not because people don't care about you. It's because they're too busy thinking about themselves. That anxiety you feel walking into a gym for the first time. Everyone else in that gym is focused on their own workout, their own insecurities, their own reflection in the mirror. That hesitation you feel about posting your art or speaking your mind. Most people are scrolling past, caught up in their own thoughts, fears, and distractions. We all think we're the center of some imaginary spotlight, but the reality is, everyone's under their own. It's called the spotlight effect, and it's real. Psychologists have studied it. People consistently overestimate how much others notice their mistakes, their appearance, or their choices. You spill coffee on your shirt, and you're mortified all day, but most people don't even notice. You fumble your words during a meeting, and you replay it for hours, but your coworkers forget it within minutes. Your mind traps you in a loop of self-surveillance, but the truth is, you're not under surveillance. You're under self-doubt, and here's the ironic part. The people who are watching you, they're not judging. They're inspired, because you dared to begin, because you dared to show up, because you dared to be real. People admire courage, they admire authenticity. When you share something vulnerable, they don't think less of you. They feel more connected to you. You give them permission to be honest too. You become a mirror, not a performance. You stop pretending and start leading. Fear of judgment is one of the biggest reasons people stay stuck. They think, what if I look stupid? What if I fail in front of everyone? What if they laugh? But those we fear are usually imaginary. Most of the people we're worried about don't know our story, don't pay close attention, and won't remember our mistakes. The few who do notice, they're rarely the ones who matter. And the ones who matter, they don't mind, they're rooting for you. You have to remember that the real cost of waiting for everyone's approval is that you delay your growth. You hide your ideas, you silence your voice, you live a smaller life so that no one sees you stumble. But that also means no one sees you rise. And you deserve to rise. You deserve to take up space. You deserve to show up fully, even if it's messy, even if it's awkward, even if you're still figuring it out. The people who live boldly aren't fearless. They've just stopped giving power to the wrong audience. They've realized that the crowd they were performing for doesn't get a vote, that the version of success they were chasing was designed to impress people who don't even understand their dreams. You don't need everyone to get it. You just need to get moving. You'll find your real audience once you're in motion. And here's something else. You won't be perfect when you start. No one is. You'll fumble. You'll get things wrong. You'll make cringe worthy attempts. But so what? That's how progress works. It's not supposed to look polished in the beginning. If you try to skip the awkward phase, you skip the learning. And the people who are actually doing things, the ones who are growing and risking and reaching, they know this. They respect the mess. They've been through it too. So go ahead. Start the thing, post the thing, launch the idea, sign up for the class, ask the question, wear the outfit, say what you mean, let people think whatever they're going to think. Because the freedom on the other side of their opinion is worth everything. You'll realize how light you feel when you stop dragging around imaginary judgment. When you finally stop performing and start living, you begin to trust yourself again. You start listening to your own voice, And that voice, the one that says, "This matters to me," gets stronger every time you honor it. That's the voice that leads you forward. That's the voice that builds a life that's real. There's a moment in everyone's life when you look in the mirror and think, "This isn't who I want to be anymore." Sometimes it hits you all at once, like a punch to the chest. Other times it creeps in quietly, through restlessness, burnout, a whisper that something's missing. And when that moment comes, it's easy to feel stuck. You think you've gone too far down a path to turn around. You tell yourself you made your bed, so now you have to lie in it. But here's what most people don't realize. Reinvention isn't just possible, it's powerful. You are not locked into any version of yourself. Not the one you built out of survival. Not the one other people expect you to be. Not the one shaped by past mistakes or fear. You are not a finished product. You are a living, evolving, adapting force, and you get to choose what comes next. That's not denial of the past, that's ownership of the future. Reinvention isn't about erasing who you've been. It's about expanding into who you're meant to be now. Too often, we wait for permission to change. We wait for a breakdown, a rock bottom moment, an external shift so big that it forces our hand. But what if you didn't have to wait for crisis to evolve? What if you could choose to pivot? Not because life broke you, but because you outgrew the life you built. Reinvention isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's the quiet recognition that your past choices don't have to define your future direction. Let's be honest, change is uncomfortable. It's vulnerable to admit that the identity you've worn for years doesn't fit anymore. It's scary to let go of the familiar, even when the familiar is limiting you. But here's the thing. Every version of your life started with a decision. The job you took, the relationship you stayed in, the beliefs you clung to. You created those things through action, and that means you can create new ones too. Reinvention begins when you stop asking, "Who am I supposed to be?" and start asking, "Who do I want to become?" You're allowed to want more purpose, more alignment, more authenticity. You're allowed to decide that you're tired of pretending, tired of settling, tired of carrying an identity that no longer reflects your truth. And yes, people will be surprised when you change. They'll question it. Some might resist it, but that's okay. Your job is not to make your evolution comfortable for others. Your job is to honor the part of you that refuses to stay small. Powerful reinvention doesn't require a total life overhaul. It starts with one brave choice at a time, saying no when you usually say yes, telling the truth when it's easier to stay silent, investing in yourself when you feel guilty for wanting more. Reinvention is a series of small shifts that, over time, lead to a massive transformation. You may not even notice it right away, but one day you'll wake up and realize, "I'm not the same person I used to be, and I'm proud of that." It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking, "If I change now, it means I wasted all those years." That's not true. Nothing is wasted. Every experience taught you something. Every season shaped you. Reinvention isn't a rejection of your past. It's a reclamation of your future. You needed those chapters to grow into the strength you have now. To recognize the patterns you're ready to break. To know what matters and what doesn't. The most powerful people you know have reinvented themselves, often more than once. They've left behind identities that no longer served them. They've let go of dreams that expired. They've allowed themselves to evolve even when it made others uncomfortable. Reinvention takes courage, yes, but it also creates freedom. It gives you back your voice, your agency, your ability to say, "This is who I am now." And when you say that with clarity, the world adjusts around you. You don't need to prove you're ready. You just need to begin. Start where you are with what you have. Reinvention doesn't require certainty, just a willingness to follow your own truth, one decision at a time. You might not have all the answers yet, but you have everything you need to take the next step. And that step, however small, has the power to change your entire life. Would you like the full speech now, compiled from all 5 expanded keynotes?